Welcome to the CEO.com show. My name is Clint Betts. On today's show, I talked to this remarkable young woman, Asma Paigeer, who escaped Afghanistan when the Taliban took over. Her story is remarkable. She is a hero. I don't know how anyone could listen to this interview and see her and listen to her experience and think otherwise. It really was an honor to be able to interview Asma and get to know her a little bit. We're going to post a link to her education fund in this episode. This is an interview and an episode you will not want to miss. Here's my interview or conversation with Asma. Asma, thank you so much for coming on. Your story is incredible, and we're going to get to how you got out of Afghanistan when the Taliban took over and the United States military pulled out. But I wonder if you could explain to our audience and talk to us about what would you have us know about Afghanistan, that maybe there are some misconceptions that people in America and throughout the world have about Afghanistan. What would you have us know about the country?
That's a great question. First of all, thank you so much for having me in your show. It's been an honor to be your guest. And back to your question. Well, there are a lot of misconceptions about how Afghanistan was and how it's being interpreted through the medias and press in this part of the world. And a lot of that was about the women, how women were being mistreated in Afghanistan, how they are being a second citizen, or how their rights are being deprived from them. And in the majority or in the bigger pictures, what they were focusing was on a very rural area or very villages. Like stories were popular from one particular case, and it would have made a huge generalizations about all Afghan women. But that was not the case for all Afghan women. For example, for me or for other Afghan women who grew up in Kabul city, the capital, we had a lot of rights and privileges. It wasn't equal, it wasn't great, but it was far better than it is right now. We had this amazing opportunity to go to school and be able to graduate from high school and go and start university and get our degree or certificate in a field and then go start an employment. And a lot of women in the last 10 years, 20 years were in a workforce. The participation of women in workforce in Afghanistan was great and it was significant. And then, unfortunately, in 2021, the Taliban seized the power in Afghanistan. And once again, the history of Afghanistan falls into a dark chapter. And women are being deprived from their basic rights right now. As we can see on the media, they are not being allowed to go to school, even in a very primary level. And then apart from that is even they are targeting those education institutes that are focusing about women's educations or they are like teaching the girls in Afghanistan. And it's very sad and heartbreaking in a sense.
Yeah. So how did you get out of there? What happened once the Taliban took over? I know that your father worked with the United States forces for a while, which means you kind of had to get out of there once the Taliban took over. How did this happen? How did you get out?
Honestly, it's a long story, but as you mentioned, yes, my dad worked for a very long time, actually. It's been like over a decade that he was working with the U.S. forces for the U.S. government. And more importantly, he was constantly working to ensure the peace and stability will be in Afghanistan so that we all can live in a prosperous country. And I value the work my father did and who works alongside my father, like the U.S. forces. I value their works. Because of their presence, we had a great great country and great opportunity, and it was a great area that I grew up in. And then back to how I escaped from Afghanistan. Well, the day that Taliban seized the power in Afghanistan is in August 15, 2021. And it was kind of a tough situation to be in, because they, as soon as they get the power, they start eliminating, like targeting those who work with the U.S. forces or for U.S. government or previously worked for stability of the former government. And they were not killing only them, but they also start killing their family members. So you would have seen this, like these families are being killed over the night, and tomorrow we could go and see their corpse, and no one take responsibility. And that was the problem. And Taliban would always claim that it's not what we did. So if that's not what you did, then who did it? So it was a tough situation for my family and for myself to be in. We knew we had to leave Afghanistan, and the only way left to escape from Afghanistan was through the airport. And some of you may already witness what was happening around the Kabul airport. It was a massive crowds. Everyone was trying to escape from Afghanistan. Everyone was scared. And it was a tough situation. So I had a difficult experience those days. And at the point that we were trying to get out of Afghanistan, in the crowds, I get separated from my family, and I did not know where they go or how they are. And I lost contact with them because they had to destroy their cell phones or any methods of contact because of security purposes. And then I ended up being with my colleagues from Asian University for Women. We all came to Afghanistan returned back to Afghanistan a year ago because of COVID. We were all studying in Bangladesh. So I kind of joined them in 7 buses, and we all tried to enter Kabul airport, and the plan was to get into that charter flight and fly out of Afghanistan. But unfortunately, every time that we attempt to enter, there were several gates of the Taliban, and they were like denying, they were not letting us, they were not giving us the permission to pass those gates. And we had to encounter a lot of the Taliban soldiers, and every time they were turning us from one gate, we have to go around the Kabul airport to another gate and give a try from that gate. And it takes us like 7 to 8 days and nights. Some of our attempts lasted 24 hours, 36 hours. We did not have any food to eat or any water to drink, or we are not allowed to even leave the passes at certain points. And then, but the point is that we did not give up, although some of us did. Like in the first day, it was 180 students, but on the last day, it was 150 students. Some of them lose hope because we constantly were being tortured on those buses, and with uncertain future, with uncertainty whether we can pass or we cannot pass, but we keep trying. And some of us get scared, and I value their decisions. On that moment, that time, we didn't know what's going to happen. And the Taliban threatened us many times that they will shoot us in our head if they ever saw us again. But they did not stop us. They did not threaten us. Scare us, some of us. And then, to be honest, as a gal, as a woman, as a young woman, we are the most vulnerable. We are the most vulnerable in any kind of war circumstances. And on my point of view or opinion, that is not the worst case scenario that could have happened. There were far worse than that could have happened to all of us. But I'm thankful to God and to all those people who helped us to escape from Afghanistan, and those bad consequences did not happen.
What happened to the 30 people who left?
Well, we left Afghanistan. It was 150 of us. Like we
You
are,
had,
like,
you said there was like 180 and then 150 views stuck with it. The 30 who left or got off the bus or something like that. Do you know what happened to them?
I know kind of what happened to them. They went back to their families and their relatives, and later some of them managed to go back to Bangladesh. But I'm not saying all 30 of them go back to Bangladesh, because I'm not sure if all of them get out of Afghanistan. As you know, we lost contact.
Yeah.
And as soon as the government collapsed, everyone was, for safety reasons, they stopped using the social media or stopped getting in contact with people or updating where they are, how they went, or what happened, or what's their story, just to make it sure that they are safe or their family are safe. As you know, that the Taliban are monitoring this social media very massively, so it's not safe.
So how did you eventually get out?
Well, at this point, I have to be really grateful to some individuals, some organizations. Mostly, I'm starting with my sister. She is my hero. She's my personal hero. Her name is Azadeh, and she was in United States when the Afghanistan government collapsed. So she started contacting all of my father friends who work with my father and those who are in U.S. military. And then some of them were still in the U.S. military, but some of them left, retired, but they were working with some organization who were actively evacuating those who were in danger, minorities, women, ethnic minorities, religious minorities, and people like my father who lost contact with everyone. And the organization is more Cuban, and this my father's friend name is Chris. So also the contact, of course, Chris is just only one of them. There are many of them, yes. And then Ozda contacted Chris, and he responded to her call, and then they kind of get in touch and say that, okay, here is my sister. She's stuck in Kabul airport, and she's with her friends. It's 150 of them. The Taliban are not letting them to pass the gates. And going back to the moment that we were stuck on the gates, it was 1 a.m. in the morning, and I noticed that this time is different from all the previous times, because the Taliban are not letting us to pass the gate and enter the Kabul airport, but they also are not letting us to leave the area. You know what I'm trying to say? It's somehow
you were stuck there.
Yes, stuck us. We stuck there because they blocked us from both ways. And it was 1 a.m. in the morning that I noticed that these Taliban soldiers are walking by our passes, and they are screaming on the civilians, the other people, that they need to leave the area. And I could have seen from the window of the seat that I was sitting in, that all those other cars, some of those cars and passes includes some foreign nationals. They were also being denied. They were not given the permission to enter the Kabul airport, but they were like redirected. Like the Taliban forced them to leave the area, but it was only our buses that were stuck in there. And as every moment was passing by, my nervousness, my sense of, I was frustrated, I was scared, and it was increasing rapidly. I knew in my mind that something worse is about to happen, as if they were like planning something for us, and they don't want anyone to be witness there. So we were like highly advised to not use our cell phones, not communicate with any person, to not share our locations, to not do anything. But then at that moment, it was on me, and I had to make this decision. I took my phone out and I contacted my sister Azadeh, and I let her know what was happening there, because I don't know what was happening, what will happen to us in terms of whether we can get the help or not. But the only concern at that moment that I had was that I do not want to be disappear in the middle of Kabul that no one's know what happened to me or what was my story. And this is unfortunately the theme of the Taliban's history. Even in the previous regime, previously, for the first time when they get into power, they would have captured these people, and you would have lost that family member, that friend or relative forever. You would have never knew that whether he is dead, she is dead, or he or she alive, or where they are, or what happened to them. It was that horrific, that how to say, sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not want that to happen to me or my friends. I feel like if we are going to even die tonight, I will at least let someone know about it. I want to let someone to keep record of it, that we missed, and it was this number of us, and this is the locations. And then my sister also said, like, hold on in there, I will get help. And I was like, really? Like, at this moment, I totally lost hope in whatsoever is called life. And I did not believe that statement, because I was strongly believing that no one at that moment is able to help us anymore. To that extent, I was frustrated. And then a moment later, she texted me and said, like, I contacted my father's friends. They want to know where are you, like, exactly? Can you send us live locations? Send us some pictures of surrounding, that they know that you are there, and then the total number of students, as many information as you can. And some of this information are very sensitive and very difficult at that moment to provide, including, for example, the pictures.
Yeah.
And I was like, how am I supposed to take pictures? Like, if I take my phone and take pictures, the Taliban soldiers will see. And when they notice that I'm breaking the law, they will, like, capture me, and they will immediately shoot me in the head. Well, that was the best scenario that could have happened, or worse than that can happen. But somehow I had to, like, overcome this fear that I had. And I was like, look, this is the only opportunity that I have among all 150 of us that I could do, and we possibly may get help. If I don't do, it's for certain that we will not get help. So I kind of turned the flash off of my camera, and I take some pictures, and then I provided those informations to those friends of my father, to Chris, and then they passed those information to, it go through a chain of individuals, and then it head to an organization, and then someone passed it to Pentagon, to someone who is in charge, and who is in charge to make decisions. And then they make decisions, or whatever the deal was between the US government and the Taliban. They let us to pass the gates and enter the Kabul airport. But somehow, before they let us to enter, they take away every belongings that we ever had, like our bags, our clothes, our computers, everything. The only thing that they let us to take us inside the airport was our passports. And of course, we had to hide our phones and don't let them to see that we have our phones. And I certainly don't want to lose contact, so I kind of keep it hidden and take it with me in the Kabul airport. But on that moment, they take 3 of us as a hostage. They didn't let 3 of my friends to go. And the reasons they provided to us was not something logical or make any sense in any context. Like the Taliban said, we cannot let these 3 go because their names are misspelled in the list that we received. Their passport number is not right. And something we all knew is not correct. They were making these things up, so they take the hostage. And I was not ready to let them go, because previous to that, I already lost my parents, my family at that point, because I did not know what happened to my parents. I lost contact with them, and somehow I wasn't ready to let any bad things happen to my friends. But to kind of give a context at that moment, it was a day after the explosion that happened in Kabul airport that caused that resulted in the deaths of over 100 civilians, and including 113 US soldiers or service members. So it was very sensitive timing. And then when we get into the Kabul airport, I start contacting with my father friends and say like, look, they took three of my friends and we need to do something. And they said that at this point, all you need to do is to go and find the captain or the commander, whoever is in charge of the US forces on the ground. And I say, okay. And then I do remember that I go to different soldiers and I was asking who is in charge, who's your captain, and then I had to talk to them to convince them to let me talk to the captain, and eventually it helped. They let me to talk to the captain, and then I had to, at one point I had to convince this captain to talk with my father friends over phone. He was in special forces and they talked about some logistic things, but back then in the ground, it was up to me to convince this captain that he needs to do something and save my three friends. But I'm super happy because the same chain of communications happened one more time, and then someone like my father's friend, like someone in Pentagon, to know that they're taking the three of the girls as a hostage, and then someone who was in charge released the decisions that we need to save those last three girls, and then this captain on the ground go negotiate with the Taliban and take the girls back. So we reunited an hour later in the Kabul airport, inside the Kabul airport. I do not recall this captain's name, but from bottom of my heart, I'm super grateful for everything he did that day. He absolutely saved my friends, and we all made it out of Afghanistan, and it was a very successful mission for all of us. So thank you so much for everyone who served in the U.S. military and who served in Afghanistan. I entirely value everything you did. And I want you to know that not only me, women like me, and especially Hazara people that are in ethnic minorities are very grateful for your services in the last 20 years, because your presence made a huge difference in our life. We had freedom, we had democracy, we had a government, we had a constitutions. Under that constitution and that structure of government, we had a life that worth living, and we were not being subject to hostility and subject to mistreatment or being massacred by the Taliban or any other terrorist groups. So thank you so much for your service.
What was that moment like when you saw your three friends you no longer be hostages and they were freed and they were going to come along with you? What was it like when you saw them?
Overall, it is very difficult to make an emotional trip to that days or that moments because it was difficult.
Yeah.
Because once you save someone something, you have to give up on another thing. The moment that I saw my friends are being reunited with us, I was super grateful and I was super happy. I was excited, and the happiness was sound so unreal, because at certain points you would see that life is throwing you into a lot of troubles, and you would not see that something is like as miracle or as a magic could possibly be happen. So it was a miracle to me to see my friends all being reunited with me back. But then on the other side, I was feeling deeply down, and I was feeling frustrated and sad, because I was it was 150 of us, and I was the only one or the last one who take the steps towards the plane or get into the plane. And those steps that I was taking was the most difficult step I have ever taken in my entire life. Because every step I take, I could have thinking of my families. I could have think my dad, my mom, my brother, and my sister, and I knew if I get into the plane, I may never be able to see them again. And somehow I have to make I have to make the decisions and get onto the plane. And because I get onto the plane, I still feel selfish. I still feel I am I'm feeling inside myself, I'm feeling guilty because I feel like I gave up on my parents and my family. I should have gone back to them. I should have tried to find them and be reunited with them. And regardless of what the outcome would be, it would have been for all of us. But I saved myself. That's how selfish I am.
That's not selfish at all, Asma. That's what you did was heroic, and you saved lives that day. So did you? How did you get to? When did you get to the United States? Did you immediately get flown to the United States?
No, it would have been way easier if we could have get directly to the United States, but we had some stops. We went to Saudi Arabia, and then we went to Spain, and then we flew. Eventually, we flew into United States, and we entered United States in September. But I'm very thankful for the U.S. government for hosting us, for their hospitality, and for saving us from Afghanistan and from the Taliban. So, yeah.
Have you been able to speak with your family since?
Yes. Okay. The story is not sad at all. So we are grateful because the God is being very merciful to all of us, and the way He saved me, the God saved my parents as well, and my family. So my parents, my family, because it was my parents and my small brother. They moved from Kabul to Mazar, another Afghanistan province, in a safe houses that was being hosted by the Mercury One organization, and they eventually being evacuated from Afghanistan through charter flights in United Arab Emirates, and then eventually a few months ago they made it to United States, and they are right now living in Pennsylvania, and I'm super grateful and happy.
And have you seen them since they've been in the United States?
I just seen them one day for a very short period of time, for a few hours. I did not get the chance to stay with them and kind of be with them, and I again feel like we are being reunited and we're living as a family. But at this point, I'm super grateful that they are safe. They are in the United States, and I'm planning to go and see them in December once my study is over.
So who are you staying with now? And I know you're enrolled in college. You're in university right now. What are you doing? What is it like being in the United States and living here?
As I can say, it's super exciting, super happy. I'm super happy to be in the United States, and I'm trying to make the most out of this amazing opportunity that I'm being given. It's a kind of a second chance in life to live your life to the best of it. And I am currently studying fintech and big data analytics with an intended minor in computer science in University of Virginia Tech in state of Virginia. And I'm right now in university too.
Yeah, that's incredible. Why did you choose that? Why did you choose fintech and computer programming and that type of stuff? That's fascinating.
Thank you. First of all, because I'm very passionate about it, but why I'm passionate about it, because I grew up in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan do not have a stable financial market or a financial system. All we have is called Hawala system, and it was one of Hawala has existed since 8th century and is a very corrupted system, and the way the money moves is based on trust, and it's kind of illegal because the government do not have any control over it, and it can be used by the terrorist groups like the Taliban used it. They transfer their money through Hawala system inside Afghanistan and then distributed among their militia, and eventually over time they get power and finally in 2021 they managed to seize the power in Afghanistan. And then the other is it's basically the whole system is the base for corruptions, for money laundering, for human trafficking, for all other kind of crimes that you can imagine. And this, I'm hopeful that when I'm studying and when I graduate, I managed to develop a modern financial system using the computer science, most importantly, the artificial intelligence, and make a modern system, financial system, so that the government can have control over it more, and then we can see the transfer of money or the movement of money, and to avoid corruptions or misuse of money. And then when we have a stable financial system, we can create eventually a stock market. At this point, we do not have one in Afghanistan. And then people will intend to more invested inside the country versus investing outside the country. And then more investment leads to economic prosperity, and then people will have better income, people will going to have a better life, and the overall living standards of Afghanistan will eventually, people of Afghanistan will eventually grow and will get better. So that's what I vision for Afghanistan, and of course for post-Taliban Afghanistan, because I don't believe that they are capable of any improvement.
Asma, you are the most incredible person I've ever met. That is your vision, and what you want to do for your home country is so beautiful. And man, it is so inspiring. I'm actually like almost at a loss for words for what you just said there. That is so beautiful, the way you want to improve and change your country. Where do you think the courage came from? Those days getting out of Afghanistan, and where do you think it's coming from right now? You could easily just, never go back and never think about your home country again. But the fact that you're working towards building a new financial system and a legitimate currency and a legitimate government in Afghanistan is so beautiful. Where does that come from? Where's your motivation here? Your courage is off the charts, unbelievable.
Okay, thank you so much. I have a long path to go and managed to build this system eventually in the future. But hopefully, no matter how long will it take, I will manage to do that. It's honestly a difficult question to say where I gained the courage or this resilience. And if I reflect on how I grew up in Afghanistan, I have to say I'm extremely grateful to my parents, to my father and to my mother, and importantly my mom. She was on her last semester to graduate from Kabul University, and she was majoring in Persian literature when the Taliban seized the power in Afghanistan for the first time. They closed the universities, and the women were not allowed to go and get an education, and my mom never get the chance to graduate from university, and she was about how painful it is to study for 3.5 years but never managed to graduate because of the entire Taliban and their system that happened to Afghanistan. And then the way we grew up was somehow reflecting that experience that my mom had, and the way that she gives importance to the education and the empowerment of women. So to get the educations and degree from university was kind of a requirement in our family. We raised in a very academic focused environment, and she was pushing us that we need to get educations, because once we are educated, we will be able to help ourselves, but not to just limit to ourselves or our family, but we will be a productive member of a community, a society, and that way we can help others people as well, but not just others, but particularly other women in Afghanistan, because some of those women are or do not had the opportunities that I had, or my sisters had, or my family had. So this was how she was raising us, that do not always be self-centered, be a valued member, and be someone that others can rely on you, and be able to like serve others who are around you. And that's how the mentality I grew up in. And then now I'm thinking back and about Afghanistan, or about the way I grew, the way I left Afghanistan was horrific. And especially I'm from Hazara ethnicity, and we are at the minority. We are being massacred every day in Afghanistan. Somehow, some parts of me still believes like I need to do something to make a difference, so that no woman, no girl, no Hazara person in Afghanistan forced to flee from the country because the country is being led by terrorists, because the country is being led by wrong people. So to empower those people, to empower those individuals, I think it's my sole responsibility to work to make this vision into a reality and make a difference into their life. Is it just enough for Afghanistan? No, it's not. But this is my contributions to the future of Afghanistan, to the post-Afghanistan, to the post-Taliban Afghanistan. And hopefully I will do it one day, and I will be able to save those individuals and those ethnicities and those who are in risk, or those who are being mistreated in Afghanistan.
How have you noticed the cultural differences between living Afghanistan, the Afghanistan you grew up in, and living in America now?
I would say there are a lot of cultural differences, and to one extent that we cannot compare it.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy in United States. It's very diverse, and it's very they had like cultural differences, but the only point that I like about United States, regardless of which group you're representing, which community you're representing, you will always be heard in United States. So there is like a strong government, there is a strong constitutions that is governing the country, and no one is allowed to mistreat you, or to allow to like prosecute you, or to like to treat you in an unfair way, because there is a government, there is a system that supports you. You can go and claim and then get your rights back. So it's more of how to say, the juridical system is very fair in this country, and I really liked about it. And then and there's a lot of opportunities for women, of course, in the United States than it was back in Afghanistan, even before the Taliban, which is why I like being in the United States. And yes, the challenging part is, of course, the language and other stuff.
Asma, let me tell you, you speak English better than I do. Your English is wonderful. I'm going to keep saying this. I've never even interviewed or talked to anyone like you. You are such an inspiration, and a living hero, and someone who's really made your family and your people proud. And I'm sure you'll continue to do that. Like, I see you as like the future president of Afghanistan. Asma, I think it's incredible what you're doing. Let me ask you this. What can we do as Americans, and everyone else who watches this or listens to this around the world? How can we help you? How can we help Afghanistan?
Well, Thank you so much from you for having me in your show, and for all of your audience, whoever is listening or watching this interview. There are many ways that you can help in Afghanistan. First of all, I want everyone who's watching this interview or any other interviews to ensure that we will not recognize the government of Taliban as an official government of Afghanistan in any other country or in United States, because we should not give them legitimacy. If we give them the legitimacy, we accept the violence, the corruptions, and the terrorists to be a part of a legal system. So it's not just about Afghanistan, it's about our morality in all around the world. Something that we all value is freedom and democracy, and everyone's born equal and should be treated equal. So giving them legitimacy is like we violating that our moral responsibility, our morality. So, and there are other ways to help as well. And if you can get in touch with Afghan women in particular, you can mentor them. You can help them to get educations, because as you can see, they closed the schools, the universities for women, and we have a massive amount of girls and Afghan women that are out of school, and they are being left alone. They are being left by themselves, and no one around the world even care about them. So anything you can do to make an improvement in their lives, or make them even to raise their voices, that's a great thing to do. So thank you for taking your time and doing that. And of course, when it comes to me, I'm still struggling to raise funds for my educations and to be able to change this real vision into a reality. And I do need your support. So if you're willing to help, I'm sure that my link to my donation will be posted there. So you're most welcome to donate it towards my education fund. And thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. We'll put the link out there. And again, Asma, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. We'll follow up with you here too as your journey continues. But you are a hero, Asma. Thank you for everything you did and are doing for your people and your family. It's absolutely wonderful, and I'm sure they're all very proud of you.
Thank you so much.